There's a psychological shortcut that makes strangers trust you in minutes. Not charm, not likability, not charisma, something older. Something Machiavelli understood 5 centuries ago. It's the ability to make people feel like they've known you forever, even if you just met. And the people who master this, they move through the world untouched. They gain trust, access, loyalty, without begging for it. While everyone else struggles to be heard, you'll be the person they remember. This isn't manipulation, it's survival. Because if you can't create instant familiarity, you're invisible. Most people are forgettable. They walk into rooms, shake hands, exchange names, and 30 seconds later, they're forgotten. Why? Because they approach human connection like a transaction. They wait for earned trust. They believe in slow-building rapport. They think people need time to warm up. That's a lie you were taught to keep you powerless. The truth? Trust isn't earned over time. It's triggered in moments. And the people who understand this, the manipulators, the social engineers, the wolves in every industry, they use it every single day. They walk into negotiations already trusted. They enter conversations already liked. They leave interactions already remembered. And you're still trying to prove yourself, still waiting for permission, still hoping people will eventually see your value. Meanwhile, someone else is building instant connection, taking the opportunities, and leaving you behind. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see, but few can feel." People trust what feels right, not what is right. And if you don't learn how to create that feeling, you'll spend your life being overlooked. Machiavelli understood human psychology better than most modern therapists. He knew that trust isn't logical. It's primal. It's not built through honesty or integrity. It's built through familiarity. The brain doesn't trust what's good. It trusts what's familiar. This is called the mere exposure effect, the psychological principle that states, we prefer things we've been exposed to repeatedly. But here's the twist. You don't need actual repeated exposure. You just need to simulate it. You need to create the illusion of shared history. And there are 7 specific mechanisms to do this. These aren't tricks. They're psychological architectures. And once you master them, you'll never struggle to build rapport again. You won't need months to earn trust. You won't need credentials to be believed. You won't need status to be valued. You'll walk into any room, any conversation, any interaction, and people will feel like they already know you. That's power. Let's begin. Number 1, the mirror of micro-identity. Reflect their self-concept, not their words. Most people think mirroring means repeating body language. Wrong. That's surface-level mimicry, and people sense it. True mirroring is psychological. It's reflecting back how someone sees themselves, not how they appear. A consultant once told me about a CEO who hired him within 10 minutes. No credentials discussed, no portfolio shown, no references checked. Why? Because the consultant noticed something. The CEO had a small worn book on his desk. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, not prominently displayed, tucked away. The consultant didn't mention it directly. Instead, halfway through the conversation, he said, "I respect leaders who think long-term, not quarterly." The CEO's posture changed, because that CEO saw himself as a philosopher leader, not a profit chaser, and the consultant reflected that identity back to him. This works because of identity confirmation bias, the need humans have to see their self-concept validated. When you mirror someone's internal identity, you create instant resonance. They don't just like you, they feel understood, and understanding creates the illusion of depth. Depth creates the illusion of time. Time creates trust. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." People trust the version of themselves they see reflected in you. Show them who they want to be, and they'll trust you instantly. Before any important interaction, ask yourself, how does this person see themselves? Not how you see them, how they see themselves. Then, subtly affirm that identity, not with flattery, with alignment. Number 2, the shared enemy shortcut. Bond over mutual opposition, not mutual interest. People think connection comes from shared hobbies. Laughable. True bonding happens through shared enemies, not literal enemies. Shared frustrations, obstacles, injustices. I once watched a man enter a tense boardroom. The team was divided. Half wanted one strategy, half wanted another. He didn't pick a side. Instead, he said, "I think we're all frustrated by the same thing. Bureaucracy slowing down execution." Silence. Then, nods. Suddenly, everyone was on the same side, not because he offered a solution, but because he identified a common enemy. This leverages in-group or out-group theory. Humans bond faster through opposition than agreement. When you identify a shared frustration, you create an instant us versus them dynamic. And once someone sees you as part of their us, trust follows automatically. Machiavelli said, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." Simple, brutal, true. Find the thing someone opposes and oppose it with them. Early in any conversation, listen for complaints, not surface complaints, core frustrations. Then, subtly validate that frustration, not by agreeing blindly, but by naming it clearly. Yeah, that's the part no one talks about. Instant alliance. Let's pause. If you're realizing you've been trying to build trust the hard way, repeat this. I create instant connection. Say it, because you're not manipulating. You're strategizing. Let's continue. Number 3, the premature vulnerability gambit. Share a calculated weakness. Early, vulnerability creates trust. But most people do it wrong. They overshare. They trauma dump. They confess insecurities randomly. That doesn't build trust. It triggers discomfort. Real vulnerability is strategic. A negotiator once told me, he always admits a small mistake early in every deal, not a major flaw, a minor miscalculation. I'll be honest, I underestimated the timeline here. Why? Because it disarms suspicion. People expect perfection from strangers. When you show a flaw, they assume you're being honest about everything. This exploits the pratfall effect, the psychological phenomenon where people trust competent individuals more after they make small mistakes. Why? Because perfection feels inhuman. Flaws feel real, and real feels trustworthy. Machiavelli understood. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command, but also how to seem fallible. Not an exact quote, but his principle stands. Appear invincible, and people doubt you. Appear slightly flawed, and they believe you. In the first 10 minutes of any important interaction, share a controlled weakness, not a character flaw, a situational one. I'm still figuring out this new system. I didn't anticipate that angle. Small, honest, humanizing. Number 4, the nostalgia anchor. Reference a shared cultural memory, even if you weren't there together. Nostalgia is the fastest route to familiarity, but you don't need shared actual history. You need shared cultural history. A salesperson once closed a deal by mentioning a TV show from the client's childhood. Not forced, just a passing reference. Yeah, reminds me of that old show. What was it? Cheers, where everybody knew your name. The client's face softened. Why? Because nostalgia triggers the same brain regions as actual memory. When you reference something familiar, the brain confuses cultural familiarity with personal familiarity. This works through source confusion, a cognitive bias where the brain misattributes the source of a memory. When you trigger nostalgia, the brain associates you with that warm feeling. And warm feelings feel like trust. Machiavelli said, "Men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." People want to feel connection. Give them a reason, and they'll create it themselves. Study the generational markers of the people you interact with. Not deeply, just enough to reference. Remember when phones had cords? Back when you had to rewind tapes. Small, relatable, instant. Number 5, the assumption of continuation. Speak as if the relationship already exists. Most people ask permission to connect. Can I get your thoughts? Would you mind if I followed up? That creates distance. Instead, assume continuation. I once saw a founder email an investor, not with a pitch, but with an update. Wanted to loop you in on the progress since our last conversation. There was no last conversation, but the investor responded as if there had been. Why? Because the founder assumed familiarity, and the brain, when presented with assumed context, fills in the gaps. This leverages the false memory effect, where suggestion creates the illusion of prior interaction. When you speak as if something already happened, the other person's brain, to avoid cognitive dissonance, accepts it as true. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to act and seek forgiveness than to ask permission and be denied." Same principle. Assume the relationship. Don't ask for it. Instead of, "Can we set up a call?" say, "Looking forward to continuing this conversation." Small shift. Massive difference. If you're starting to see how language shapes reality, repeat this. I assume trust, because you're not waiting for it. You're creating it. Number 6, the third-party validation loop. Let others speak your credibility before you do. Self-promotion creates skepticism. Third-party validation creates belief. But most people wait for others to validate them naturally. Wrong. You engineer it. A consultant I know never introduces himself. He has someone else do it. This is Sarah. She helped triple revenue for 3 companies in our space. Same credentials, different delivery. One feels like bragging, the other feels like fact. This works because of the halo effect, where positive information from a trusted source transfers authority. When someone else vouches for you, their credibility becomes yours. Machiavelli said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." Direct force isn't always effective. Indirect validation, as before important meetings. Have someone else introduce your credibility, even in emails. Looping in Alex, who's been essential on similar projects, not self-promotion. Third-party, fact. Number 7, the future pacing technique. Speak about the future as if it's already decided. Most people talk in possibilities. If this works, maybe we could. That creates doubt. Instead, speak in certainties. A founder once told an investor, "Not if you invest. But when we scale this, the investor leaned in. Why? Because certainty is contagious. When you speak about the future as inevitable, others start to believe it too. This uses presupposition, a linguistic pattern that embeds assumptions into statements. When you say when instead of if, the brain processes the outcome as certain, and certainty feels like trust. Machiavelli wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." People follow those who speak with conviction. Even if the future is uncertain, speak as if it's done. Replace conditional language with certainty, not "if we move forward," but "when we move forward." Small word, massive shift. Let's bring this together. You now understand something most people never will. Trust isn't earned. It's engineered. Familiarity isn't built over time. It's simulated in moments. And the people who master this, they don't beg for attention. They command it. Machiavelli once said, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration." Most people trust what feels right, not what is right. And if you can make someone feel like they've known you forever, you'll have more influence in 10 minutes than most people gain in 10 years. So here's your choice. You can keep approaching connections the old way, waiting for trust, hoping for rapport, praying for recognition, or you can use these 7 principles and become the person people remember, the person they trust, the person they choose. If this resonated, repeat this one last time. I create instant trust because you're not manipulating, you're mastering psychology. And if you want more strategies like this, subscribe, because next week I'm breaking down the silence weapon. How to use strategic pauses to control any conversation. You won't want to miss it. Trust is a game, and you just learned how to win it.